Hey, I'm Macy.
And I'm Maggie, and this is Extraordinary with Mace and Max,
Just two besties anchored in Jesus.
chatting about faith, life, motherhood, marriage, plants, recipes, really whatever's on our hearts.
Where Jesus brings the extra to the ordinary.
We're so glad you're here.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of Extraordinary with Mace and Mags.
We're so glad you decided to join us for yet another episode, and we're excited to unpack a little bit of some deeper stuff with you guys today.
But before we dive in, Maggie and I were just discussing our favorite finds of the week. Because one, we're girlies, we like to yap. Two, we're always finding new things. Whether that be a new coffee drink, makeup or hair product, or just something that we have read online. So Maggie, you're up first. What is your favorite find of the week?
My favorite find this week has been the passion fruit IV, liquid IV, and I know I'm probably late to the game, but I'm usually a tried and true strawberry lemonade girly, and the passion fruit is coming in a close second.
I'm gonna be honest, I do not like liquid IV generally. The only flavor that I have found that I like is tangerine. Because it tastes really salty to me. I don't know if that means I need the electrolytes or like I'm not a scientist. I don't know.
Well, I do know the less water you have in it, the more concentrated it tastes. So maybe next time just add more water.
I don't know. I've tried that. Then it's watered down. I don't know. I'm
Mm,
not a fan. But I will try
okay.
the passion fruit because I love Starbucks passion fruit lemonade. It's really good. So I'll give the passion fruit a try since you suggested it.
Yeah. What about you? What has been your favorite find this week?
Mine is actually the Super Goop glow screen. It is like a
Mm.
tinted sunscreen, and I actually use it kind of as my primer. And it looks so good. Like without makeup, with makeup, and living in West Texas, I'm all about SPF. I need my sunscreen. I burn really easily, so this stuff is a game changer.
Is it a matte finish or is it more of like a sheen?
No, it's more of like a sheen. Like it makes you look like you're glowy, like you have just like you're glowing, not sweating.
Okay. Okay.
So, and I only have a sample size. My mother-in-law gave me the sample size, and so now I have to go to Sephora and buy the full-size bottle. Because that's generally my luck. Is I'm like, oh, let's try the sample, and then I end up loving stuff and have to go back.
Well, at least you love it and don't hate it. So,
I know, that's what I thought. That is our favorite finds of the week on this episode of the podcast and the next episode as well. So, episodes number 3 and 4 are going to be about mine and Maggie's testimonies. And we decided I was up first. And I'm going to preface this by saying that my story is a lot like Shrek's. Like, ogres and onions both have layers. My story and how I got to where I am today and giving my life to the Lord is full of layers. So, some things I will just vaguely touch on today, and then we can always dive in deeper as we get to know each other better. Some of it is still very pertinent today, and other things are just that is life. Life be lifing.
yes, that's been our quote this week. It's just been a week of chaos, honestly, in both Macy and I's life. In a good way. It hasn't been anything bad. It's just been kind of chaotic. And all week we've just been saying life be lifing because it has been lifing lately.
No complaints. We're not complaining. It is just,
A busy
life.
season for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
busy season. I did not realize that August at nearly 28 was going to be just jam packed, but it is what it is.
Well, with that being said, we'll just jump right into the podcast. I'm excited that we're taking this opportunity to get to share our stories with you guys on a little bit of a deeper level, and we hope that this helps you guys feel like you know us even more.
Yes, I am too. And I think whenever Maggie and I talked about this and whether we should share our stories early on or if we should kind of just talk about general things, we wanted to share kind of who we are and how we got here early on so that whenever you're listening to the podcast, you feel like you know us, that it is very personable and that it is sitting on the couch with your best friend, just listening and having a conversation. So that is why we are just going right into it.
Absolutely. So, to get us started, we're both going to start by answering the question: what advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
Oh, that is a good one. And whenever I was thinking, I had to think on this. And whenever I was thinking about it, I honestly just put myself in my 16-year-old self shoes and was like, what did I need in that moment? And for me, my advice would be to stay true to yourself. You'll always be enough for your one true father, which is for God. And there's going to come times when you feel like you are too much or that you are not enough, but that is not your truth. That is someone else's wound. No one can take your faith from you, and no one at all can take you from you. And so,
Mhm.
honestly, even at 28, that is something that I know at almost 28. I'm not there yet that I need to listen to.
Yeah, that is really solid advice. And I think, especially for someone who would be, 16 or in those ages of the teen years, I think what you said about that not being your truth, but somebody else's wound is so profound and something that is easy to cling onto whatever phase of life that you're in, whether you're 16, whether you're 20, 25, whatever phase of life you're in. I think that's just a good reminder of the actual truth and that your worth comes from the Lord.
And I think I'm talking with some friends about this. I think that we all are dealing with our own traumas, our own stories, and a lot of that still comes from somebody else's trauma and somebody else's story. And it's really just about what you do with it and where you let it lead you.
Yeah, that's solid too. And I think as we grow and get further along spiritually, as we get older, also, you can truly understand and rely on the fact that, like, whatever you've gone through, A, you can comfort somebody else in the same situation, and B, you can use whatever circumstance you're in to glorify God.
Yes, 100%. And that is why another reason why Maggie and I want to share our stories is that we hope we can help somebody along the way, and just sharing our truths and telling people that they're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with that being said, Mace, I'll let you just jump right into it.
So for me, I almost have to start at the very beginning and go back to childhood. Growing up, my life was always kind of a constant back and forth. There was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of love in my household, but it was just back and forth. My parents were either together or they were married to other people and then together. And it just felt like we were always kind of between either like a mountaintop or the lowest valley. Um, my dad was abusive, and that is something I won't dive into deeply, but my dad was not good to my mom. He was quite terrible a lot of the times. And my mom, she worked really hard for us, but like the emotional weight of an abusive husband, three kids, and then she was a single mom. It was a lot to handle. There were times like in my life at 10, 11, 12 that I would just beg God. I'm like, God, please, like, save us from this. I don't know how you're going to save us from this, but you're going to. That was just what my thought process was, and that one way or the other that like God was going to come through. And with that, I mentioned before that I didn't grow up in a house that just relied on the Bible and going to church and things like that, but even as a little kid in times of turmoil and back and forth, I always felt God's presence. Like I always knew that I wasn't alone. Even when I felt so very alone in the world. But with my parents being back and forth, it was also one of those things that I always felt like I was too much for one parent and not enough for another parent. And I just felt like it was kind of a constant battle for me to be seen and heard in our house. I will say that at times I struggled with my faith, even though I knew God was there, because I was like, why would you put us in this situation? Why are we here? Um, and so that eventually led to my parents separated for the final time. Praise God. And during this time, my mom was going back to school. She was in her 30s. I'm not going to give away my mom's age, but she was going back to school, working hard for 3 kids. And my dad and I were back and forth on having a relationship and not having a relationship. Like I said, whenever he was great, he was great. He was the world's best dad. But when he wasn't, he wasn't. And that is something that I still battle with, knowing that my dad couldn't be a dad in the way that I needed him to be. And now we are estranged. I have not spoken to my father in many years. I don't think that will change. Um, but it's something that as a teenage girl, all my friends, like they were daddy's girls. Like they had their dad, they went to father-daughter dances, they did all these things. And here I was like, well, mine missed this, this, and this. He wasn't there for this, but he did show up for this event. And so that was honestly just the biggest struggle. And it took me a long time to realize that I do have a father. I have God. And I think it is Megan Wood has a song that is The Truth. That's the name of the song. And oh my gosh, it is so good. The first time I heard it, I bawled like a baby because the whole idea of the song is that the truth is that we are a daughter of the king. And so that hit home for me whenever I found that. But back to the teenage years. My mom was going back to school and I watched her go through that. She worked so hard. I also helped her with her degree. I'm going to take credit for part of that. Uh, but we ended up moving to a little school outside of DFW. That time, that was very chaotic time because at 14 I was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, which is a type of rheumatoid arthritis, and it is a chronic illness that primarily affects the spine. So here I was, we were coming out of living with my dad and being in that situation to a new school, and then I could hardly walk some days. And I ended up just, I don't want to say I suffered through, but we found a really good doctor to help me out, and I was able to kind of get that under control. There was times in that though that I felt like I didn't have control of my health. I didn't have control that some days I woke up in the worst of flares. Then I had elderly people telling me, well, you can't have arthritis, you're a child. And that's not true. Invisible illnesses are real, y'all, and people have them every day. Even if you can't see it, somebody could be fighting a chronic illness. And mine is manageable, luckily, and it's not terrible, but I do have it and live with it every day. That is something that for me I wanted to share just because it's part of my story and not debilitating. It's not something that just knocks me down 24/7. But whenever life be lifing, it generally my arthritis is kind of right in there. So went through middle school with finding out I had arthritis. Then I'm going into high school. And this is when I truly believe God handed me the best gem of a person, and that was my husband. I can say that now. But that is when Cody came into my life. And with Cody, there was never a question of if he loved me. It was never like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out. Pretty early on, I knew Cody and I were going to get married and that we were going to have a happy little life because he was just such a constant. And I think that God really did place him in my life to show me that I was enough for somebody here on earth and that I wasn't too much for somebody here. And Cody has just been my absolute rock in my life. I honestly, I'm gonna kind of makes me tear up because I just love him so much. And we had people that told us like we weren't gonna make it, that we weren't gonna stay together throughout high school. And then whenever I went to college and Cody started working in the oil field, that we just weren't gonna, it wasn't gonna work out. Like it was a pipe dream. But throughout high school, we were pretty much inseparable. We did a lot of things together. We did ag mechanics and played tennis together in high school. And I got Cody to like try out for leadership events. That is where how we started. And I mean, we're still together. He's still my biggest cheerleader. But the plot thickens, and right before my 18th birthday, I ended up moving out of my house. It was one of the hardest but healthiest things I could have done for myself at the time. I did move in with Cody and his mom. Not everybody understood or really agreed with that. And there were a lot of whispers in our small town. And some of them weren't even whispers. Some of them were people just directly asking me questions about my life. And that it was a huge chapter of my life that mentally it was very challenging, but it was very healing. And with that, I love my mom. I know she listens to this podcast. So, mom, I love you. And me and my mom are great now. We talk pretty much every single day. And like without her, I wouldn't be who I am today. But we just had some stuff that we needed to work through. Like I said, today we are really great. We are in a good place. But at 18, I chose myself in that moment. So then graduate high school, do the thing, and I ended up going to Tarleton State University to get my bachelor's, and I ended up finishing my degree in 3 years. I have a Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Services and Development with a concentration in ag communications. All of that to say, I went to college for marketing and journalism for agriculture. Um, I loved it. I love advocating for agriculture. We need our farmers and ranchers in the world because without them, you have no food or clothes. But I finished in 3 years and I did that a lot because I saw my mom struggle through school. She worked really hard in that, and seeing her go through that, I wanted to get done quicker and not go back in my 30s. So my senior year of college at Tarleton, our last semester, you have to do an internship for my specific degree. So the spring of 2019, Cody was working in West Texas and we were tired of him traveling, and I knew I wanted to come out here. So that year we moved to West Texas. It's about 3.5, 4 hours from where we grew up. And we moved in February. We eloped in April. And then I graduated in May. But eloping was like one of the best things I would ever recommend for me and Cody. It was absolutely perfect. It was very peaceful. It was sacred. It was like so much fun. And like it was just us as a couple. And my best friend Peyton, she actually became ordained and performed the ceremony for us. One of the things that she said in our ceremony, and I have it up on my wall, is that let every decision that we make be rooted in the Lord and to always turn to him before we make decisions. And I need to remind myself of that often. It is just crazy seeing that was over 6 years ago, and how true like that still just rings in my life. And being that we eloped, everybody thought that I was pregnant. I was not, which is honestly kind of funny considering a huge chapter of my testimony. I still just have to laugh. But us eloping, this kind of sounds weird. But I was just so ready to let go of my maiden name. I didn't want to graduate with my maiden name and give any of my dad's family the satisfaction of being tied to my accomplishments. I didn't want them to be able to take any kind of credit for what I had done when they hadn't supported me through that. And that was very important to me. So, spring of 2019 was a whirlwind. We moved to West Texas, we got married, I graduated college, and all within 4 months of one another. So, it's honestly a lot of blur. But that season of life was just so incredible. It was a lot of fun. I was very proud of myself after the fact. And then over the next few years, Cody and I have kind of stepped into some different seasons. We've tried our hand at a few businesses together, and each of those is kind of a reflection of like what was important to us and where we were at that time. People that just know me joke that I always have a project and I'm always starting a business. So honestly, when we started the podcast, this was nothing new to those in my life. And even right now, like stepping into something new again, is I have been working on opening up a flower shop, June Pup Flower Co. And for me in this season, as we kind of dive into it, that this is something that I have always longed for. And it is just bringing beauty into people's lives and like to bring happiness, because a fresh set of flowers can make anybody's day. So it is my reminder after how I kind of grew up and everything to remind people that they're seen and loved and somebody out there is thinking of them. So that is where I'm at business wise. But with all of that in the background of everything Cody and I have been doing, we've also been in a season of waiting. We have been going through infertility for about 5 years or so. Um, it has been a lot. Um, it was very hopeful in the beginning, and I'm still very hopeful and trusting God's plan. But it has been a lot of praying and wondering and pleading and begging and crying, because life just doesn't always look like what we had planned. I kind of always had a feeling, like deep down, that like the journey to motherhood wasn't going to be easy for me. I don't know where this came from. Intuition, God preparing me for this. But we found out early on that I had some uterine anomalies that I had to have surgery to fix. I've had 2 different surgeries on my uterus. Finding that out was also one of those things that sometimes made me question healthcare, because I have dealt with issues with terrible cramps during my period and not during my period. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's normal. It was not normal. It was not normal at all. And so we fixed everything there. And then I have PCOS. So the journey has been long, and we're still navigating what our next steps look like. I am not prepared to deep dive into a lot of medical things. I'm still learning. I am still praying through a lot of things. And I will say, whenever everything started, I still just like was like, oh, okay, like this is going to be quick and easy. It's never quick and easy. But in that time, I also started running, I guess in 2022. I started training for a half marathon. I wanted to prove to myself that my body could still do incredible things. It maybe can't make a baby right this minute, but it can still do hard things. And my mantra every time I run, which it's been a hot minute since I've ran, but it is that I am strong, I am capable. God made me strong, God made me capable. Just because if you've never ran, if you're not a runner, or even if you are a runner, there are just certain times that you feel like your mind is failing you and your body can still do so many great things and it can still go so much further. So I have completed several half marathons. I completed a full marathon in May of 23. That was infertility is hard. Growing up in an abusive family, is hard. Growing up with a single mother is hard. There's a lot of hard things. A marathon? Oh, that was tough. And I also, in this time, I lost one of my dogs 6 weeks prior, lost a cat 2 weeks prior. So my whole marathon, it was also slow because I stopped to pet every dog along the way. And I cried so many times. I will never forget. My in-laws came and Cody was there, and my mother-in-law Mary and my father-in-law Taus, they every time they saw me, they were cheering their lungs off. And Cody ran, like, literally clocked. He ran like 2 miles to catch up with me at one point because they misread the map and didn't realize which way we were going. And so Cody was there, my in-laws were there. It was a full family affair, and honestly, still, I don't even know how I did it. And I did it because I prayed the whole time and told myself that God made me strong and God made me capable. Even if the rest of my body isn't working the way that it should, I could still run. So that was, I honestly, now I'm thinking on it, and I just am in awe that I even finished it. Because I don't think I could run a mile today. But I did the marathon, was in a place mentally. I was kind of on the uphill. I was like, okay, God, this is the route that you were taking our life. I'm not mad about it. It is what it is, but we will get through this. And then I found out that somebody in my family was expecting a baby, and I found out via Facebook, which I was not expecting. I scrolled and saw it, and like mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything, I was absolutely crushed. I thought that it was going to be me, and I dealt with a lot of jealousy and bitterness. And I do love this family member endlessly. I love the whole family, the mom, the dad, the baby. I cherish all of them, would do anything for them. But I was just so gutted. And it was something that kind of divided my family for a little bit because I felt like it was an attack on me with them supporting them having a baby. And that's not what it was. That's not what it was at all. Like, they were just being good family members. But I remember that moment, I was feeling so alone. Would get in my car and I would just cry out to God, like, why not me? Like, why am I the one that is going through this? And for my friends that are going through a season of waiting and specifically infertility, you know that it's not just an emotional pain, it is a physical, guttural pain whenever you see all of these things that other people have, and it looks so easy looking at them, but your story is so hard. And I mean, the Bible tells us to be fruitful and multiply, and I'm like, well, I'm trying, and it just isn't working. So that it was um months of me crying out and just begging God, like, please show me why you're doing this. Or even just tell me when. I don't care why you're doing it. Just tell me when it's going to happen for me. And in all of that, all I could feel was God just pulling me in. That each time I saw another post on Facebook or had an argument with a family member over a situation, I just felt that God was he was working on me. He was like, look, I'm here. I'm here this whole time. It ended up like bringing me to the place where I am today, that I realized I really couldn't do this alone. Like, I can't do this spiritually alone. And because I have my husband and he is absolutely phenomenal. I have friends and family that are really great, but also, if you're not in the season and if you're not in a specific relationship, you don't really know the pain that someone is feeling. So I knew that, like, I have had to turn it over to God, and that is what probably in the past 2.5 years, I have been walking in my faith with the Lord, and I have been diving into my Bible, and that led me to a weekend at home with Missy at the end of April. This was a weekend of fellowship, spiritual growth, learning the Bible. It was so good, so rich. I love all the people that I met there. But that weekend for me was something that I realized how badly I needed that, and how badly I need to make Jesus the root of my life. And in that weekend, something broke open inside of me in the best possible way. So we were sitting by the pool after evening worship, and Missy had charged us with the thought, if we hadn't given ourselves to the Lord, to really think on that, and now was the time to do it. And the song Made for More was playing, and I remember whenever we were first sitting there, and Maggie was there, whenever we were first sitting there, I was like, whoa. I was like, that's a lot to unpack. Like, this is all the thoughts going through my head, my little inner dialogue. And I could just start to feel this like unshakable joy. Like, I felt like it was radiating out of my body. I felt like my whole self was smiling from my toes all the way up to the hair on my head. Two of my dear friends also gave their lives to the Lord. And I was talking with one of them, Marissa, and we were just having different experiences, phenomenal experiences, but mine was just indescribable joy. And I couldn't really put my finger on where this was coming from. And I looked at Marissa and I was like, I'm just so happy right now. I don't know what to do with myself. And I was like, I think we're doing this. I think this is how this is happening right now. So talked amongst ourselves, and we kind of, I don't even know how it all came to be. I just remember being in my own head full of happiness. But myself, along with the other two women that chose to give their lives to the Lord that night and get baptized, it was just incredible. I still can't even believe that that is where God took me and where it has led me today. I just saw my two girls this weekend, and oh, I just love them so much. But in that moment, I just knew that my purpose is more than anything that I have been through. Everything that I have been through, and it has brought me here, and it is part of my testimony. And it just reminds me that God was there through all of it. Even in the bad moments, his hand of protection was over me and my family. Just thinking on whenever we were sitting by the pool, I remember like all of the thoughts from my childhood and early adult years were kind of coming up. And one of the lines of the songs is, with a fountain of grace rushing my way. That is what every moment has been up until an April evening in Louisiana. And that's how every day is that we just have a constant fountain of grace, and we are made for more. We are made for more than our pain, more than the waiting. We are made for more than any diagnosis or doubts or insecurity. We have a future. I have a future, and it's worth living, that it is worth giving our lives to the Lord. And so I just want to tell everybody, if you're walking through something hard, if you're in a season of waiting, of heartbreak, or feeling unseen, you're not alone. There is more for you, and you're worth every good thing that's coming, and you're worth the love that God has for us. And that is just what I try to remind myself of every day, is that I am more than my past. I am more than everything that got me here, and that truly I am a child of God.
You know that song it's like Level Up by Sierra? It's 5, 4,
Yes.
3, 2, 1, let's go. Wow, Macy, what a testimony. I am so grateful that, just to be honest, that you don't have a complete straight and narrow testimony that it kind of, went a few different directions. And I'm grateful because that's relatable. And I have a similar testimony. Mine is not straight and narrow. And I think in today's day, we can just be authentic and true, and that will just encourage others. And so I'm grateful that you took the time with us just to be so vulnerable and honest and have hard conversations and talk about some really deep stuff rooted in your childhood and your past in a way that's just encouraging and also comforting to those who may be walking through the exact same thing. It's also so awesome just to hear, given that I know you personally, to see that while you walked through some difficult seasons and you walked through some trauma, where you are now with the Lord, and that you truly use every vessel, every opportunity in your life today to glorify Him. So it's just awesome to see the circle come full story, to hear about your emotions, pleading and crying out to the Lord at such a young age. You mentioned at like 10, 11, 12, begging and pleading with God. And I think that's just awesome to see that there was still such a pull on your heart at such a young age. So I really enjoyed hearing your testimony. And once again, just thanks for being so vulnerable. And I am encouraged to hear how your testimony impacts others around you.
Thank you, Maggie. And thanks for sitting with me today and for sitting with me every day that I call you about my troubles. I am really excited that we decided to share our stories. And I think that for Maggie and I, we also don't want to make this just a highlight reel podcast. I think that with us both opening up and sharing our stories, we hope that it just encourages other people. We hope that it encourages you listening to this. And I do want to add in, now that we're at the end of the podcast, that I truly love my life. I am grateful for everything that has gotten me here. Psalms 23 talks about our cup overflowing, and my cup overflows. I have a very full, very busy life, even when it do be lifing. But I am grateful just for a, a loving husband, encouraging friends like Maggie, everybody that's listening to this podcast. And I am grateful that in this season, this waiting season, it's just a season. And I think that's my other reminder as you listen to this, is that everything is just a season. God is working on you. He is molding you in this moment. And my season right now looks like a lot of animals, a lot of projects, and yapping with my girlies. So I just am so glad that you are here today and that you listened to this. And I hope that it encourages you.
Thank you for joining us. We will chat with you again tomorrow. All right, friend, that's a wrap on today's episode.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you're walking away feeling a little more encouraged, a little more seen, and reminded that Jesus truly brings the extra to the ordinary.
If you loved this convo, we'd love if you'd subscribe, share it with a friend, or leave us a review. It seriously means the world to us.
And come hang out with us over on Instagram at extra_ordinary_pod. We'd love to connect with you there. You can put faces to the name and see some of the shenanigans we get into.
Until next time, stay rooted in Jesus and keep looking for the extra in the ordinary.
Can you hear this cat?
Okay, unless you hit me with like a crazy thing and I'm like, oh my gosh, Macy.